Hey guys, I'm Si. Welcome to Cardiff City World. I'm very happy to be back on the channel this evening, and of course joined by a special guest for tonight's show in Mr. Darren Witcoop. We'll get a few words from him in just a minute, but just before I go to that, I wanted to make mention, you'll see at the bottom that there is a GoFundMe link for a Sol Bamba tribute, which will be a huge tifo, hopefully in time for the Leeds game, if we can hit all those targets. All money will go to the tribute. Anything left over will be going to charities linked to Cardiff City Football Club. Obviously, Sol Bamba was heavily linked with Cardiff City, but also the community in South Wales and Cardiff. He was heavily involved in this as well, which is it's important, and it'll be well, it's unfortunate that Cardiff City has lost yet another legend, but what we will do is we'll pay tribute to the man in tremendous fashion. So please do. The link is there. I will also pop it in the comments. It's on my social medias and stuff like that as well. So please do. You know, if you can contribute, if you can't, share it to everyone you can possibly think of, and let's give a real tribute that would be deserved. And obviously, with Leeds being the next home game, it makes sense with Sol obviously being a captain there as well. So I'll bring in my guest for this evening, Darren Witcoop, formerly a journalist, now in PR and sports management, a man of many trades. Darren, thank you very much for joining me again, first of all, and welcome. So, but apart from that, you know, I'm sure you'd like to say like a few words about Sol and when you've come across him yourself over the years.
Yeah, hi Simon. Yeah, obviously absolutely horrendous news. A lot of people have obviously talked about it the last couple of days. Really, really fantastic tributes to the man, not just as a footballer, but as the player off the pitch. And just want to add a few things. I had a couple of dealings with Sol over the years. A lot of people had a lot more than I have done. But just from my point of view, always excellent to communicate, lovely guy, couldn't do more. And I think, not about me, but other people, I think the tributes have been from everybody who've come in, managers, players, really heartfelt. But I think there's a lot of things clubs, fans don't see what happens at clubs. And I think with Sol, he was very, very much as a one big group. A new player came in, he was straight away embracing it, getting on a WhatsApp group, embracing the player. Same as, you know, at Christmas time with the dinner lady or the chef to make sure they had the right present. I know there's a lot of little things like that that go on behind the scenes that supporters don't see, but he was a really integral part of that, not just at Cardiff, at other clubs as well. And I think that was just the person he was. He's a really wholesome and just lovely guy. And I think, yeah, it was obviously tragic news, really shocking to hear. Yeah, it's obviously not just Cardiff, but everybody associated with Sol, just absolutely gutted really with the news.
Yeah, it's been tragic, and it's been really difficult to put into words. I found it like I'm obviously very used to talking. I'm very used to talking live, and I've also spoken about tragic deaths and people, footballers, things like this over the years that I've been doing podcasts and stuff like that. It unfortunately has been something that I've had to do a few times, but I found it really difficult last night just to kind of formulate my words and find the right words. My dealings with Sol were very, very minimal. I spoke to him a couple of times, and obviously Paul Abbandonato joined me yesterday, who was very friendly with him, close to Sol, and he was it was what's the word I'm looking for? It was better for him to be able to describe him, his relationship with Sol, because he knew him. I didn't really, just in passing, and I thought Paul did a great job last night of sort of getting that across, and I think the words he used was a gentle giant, and I thought that was quite an apt description, but just a great human being. And we made the decision yesterday, rather I did wholly, but I kind of decided, I was umming and ahhing whether to do shows yesterday and today. But I decided, Sol Bamba was a football man, and I felt like the best way that I could pay tribute to Sol Bamba is to go on and talk about football, talk about Sol, and kind of uh, that keep building the community that we've built around Cardiff City. Something which he was incredibly big part of, but also something that he was incredibly passionate about was Cardiff City. We touched on yesterday with Paul that maybe, in another lifetime or another world, maybe Sol Bamba is a future Cardiff City manager, which unfortunately won't come to be. But it certainly seemed like he was heading down that managerial route, and by all accounts, everyone who speaks about him says that he had all the tools to do a great job. In relation to kind of Cardiff and management and things like that, football's a very complex arena compared to other employment. It's very, very volatile, isn't it? And it can be great one day, and then very quickly it can turn. Errol Bullock was given a new contract in the summer. I think the vast majority of Cardiff fans wanted that. There were a few who were on the fence, we say, but I think the majority were behind Errol Bullock, with the kind of caveat that maybe once he gets his own players in and some players out, there would be a slight improvement in the standard of football, the particularly at home, in terms of maybe being a bit more aggressive and attacking. And then certainly in pre-season, we saw signs of that. And then in these, 3-4 games with the EFL Cup games, it's kind of got progressively more defensive with each game. And also, in between that, the youngsters have shone in the EFL Cup games, showing that what can be done when you play with pace and you play with excitement and aggression. I know you're a Cardiff fan and you follow the club closely. How have you felt? First of all, talk us through the summer. How did you feel about the contract situation? Did you want him to stay? And then kind of talk us through it, the season from there then.
Yeah, I think with most Cardiff fans, I think they wanted stability. It's been so many chopping and changing in recent years. I think last season, especially the constraints in the transfer market, they signed some good players and you thought, okay, finish mid-table. Never in danger of going down, which is always a good thing after the last few years where they sort of flirted with that, or more than flirted with it. We're closer to the playoffs, never really had a particular chance to get into the playoffs last year, you felt, but they were on the fringes at some stage. So you thought, okay, let's build, keep the manager. They got some good players they brought in and build in the summer. The worry I always had with this Cardiff team, and they've signed some good players, and it's very early days because 4 games in, it's very early days, But the worry I had, and I still have that worry now, is the lack of pace in this team. And for me, they've signed players. There's no one particularly quick. Willock's sharp, but he's not rapid. Same as Robinson, and who's obviously at the club already. And Kanga looks very similar. They got a bit of pace about it, but nothing to really upset a defence. And I think you watched that Middlesbrough game on Saturday. Middlesbrough, I thought, were quite poor, but actually they were missing a lot of players in Middlesbrough. They had no defence, and Luke Ayling playing centre-half, me to right back. And Cardiff didn't really lay a glove on them, and it was so frustrating. Apart from 5 minutes at the start of the second half, where the ball hits the post from Ramsey and goes in, it's a different game perhaps, but it doesn't, and a couple of other chances. But I didn't ever think Cardiff were going to score. The first half especially, it was sideways, it was back, and I just feel that he's got all these players at his disposal now, and I don't think he quite knows what to do with them from my point of view. He'll know more than I will, but if you look at Willock, he's been strong at QPR when he's played down the middle. You look at Ramsey, he looks off it at the moment. So Colwell, what more does Colwell need to do? So you've got Colwell and Willock who could potentially play in that position. O'Dowda, for me, is wasted left back. I mean, he's not a left back. He does a job there, and he's solid, and he's so much better further forward. I think he's shown it, isn't he, in the glimpses against Swansea, and even on Saturday, he was the furthest forward. For me, it's crazy. You've got Bagan at left back, who's been around. You've got to play these boys. He's been around. He's not a youngster anymore. He's played enough games out on loan last year. For me, Bacon should be left back. O'Dowd should be further forward. Obviously, you look at three at the back as an option and put O'Dowd at wing back. But I don't know. I mean, at the moment, they look like a side bereft of confidence, but also bereft of ideas. And that's the worry, because last season, there wasn't loads of goals. A lot of set pieces were scored last year, the highest in division. I think it was 2021, I think, or a lot of goals. And that's underestimated how important that is, because you get a goal from a set piece, the game opens up, and then you've got more chances. But Cardiff have obviously scored one goal this season, not really looked like scoring a goal from a set piece for some reason. And the amount of goals they conceded from set pieces, Sunderland from a free kick switched off, Saturday again switched off in the corner. I'm trying to think what else. There's been another goal, I think, isn't there? Definitely been a goal.
I mean, 4 out of the 5 Burnley goals came from mistakes. Giving the ball away, or keeping mistake. And we played quite well in the first half against Burnley, where we were on.
Yes, I didn't see the game. Obviously, I saw the score and I saw the possession and what was going on. I heard them, but 5-0 speaks volumes, really. And I think the problem is, I just get frustrated watching Saturday. Look at Mété play. He's been here for a season now. What's his position? Is he playing down the middle? Is he playing down the wing? He's certainly not effective on the wing. Very rarely have I seen him sort of really look effective. Took him off again the weekend, brings Tanner on, who was probably one of the brighter sparks on Saturday. But does he start? Doesn't really tend to start him. Colwell again comes on, but you can't keep expecting players to come on and turn the game. I think he's got to start placing some trust in some players like Tanner, like Colwell, because they didn't sign anybody on deadline day. They were crying out for a striker for me. Or a winger at least, someone with a bit of pace to get down to that byline. But a striker, I think it's very hard to judge after 4 games and hard to judge Kanga when you see him play. But whether he's fit or not, there's got to be better options up there, because if Robinson's not fit, the boy Reindorf will run around and he's got a goal in him, and he can't do any worse from what I thought. And what about Mété? Was he signed as a striker or a winger? I feel like he's caught between a lot of things at the moment, not quite sure what's a fit. Willick in the team, but he can't put him down the middle. So he's on the wing, and it's just wasted. And the same with Ramsey. It's just so many times he was out on the wing on Saturday. I don't know about you, and I felt like we had the ball, but there was no one in the middle at all. There was no one from midfield bursting through. I'm just frustrated, I think, at the moment, like all supporters. And it's very easy after no wins in 4 games to sort of point to the finger. But I think the next international period, the next 4 or 5 games, I think it is, until the next break after when we return, is massive for the manager, because I think the owner's got history of pulling the plug after 9-10 games and things aren't going well, and it's not going well.
I think one of the things which I find interesting in a kind of almost a bit of a macabre way is, like, if every single player was fit, like all the first team players were fit, I'm not entirely sure that Errol Bullock knows what 11 he would put out. Like, what's his best 11 if everyone's fit? And I don't think he knows. And I think that is problematic in itself. I think the thing which, I've been very pro Bullock all along. I felt like he did a tremendous job last year under really difficult circumstances. A lot of circumstances which people don't realise as well behind the scenes. And it was difficult to deal with because he didn't have a contract. As soon as he got a contract, I think some of those issues were obviously dealt with. You saw Romeo's contract terminated, Wintel's gone out on loan, whatever it may be. The thing which is frustrating me now is, for instance, he's bemoaning the lack of pace. Now, well, number one, there's footballers at that club who have pace, but he won't trust them or use them, or he sent them out on loan. We also had somewhat of a deal in place for Casey McAteer to come on loan in the summer, and didn't end up coming to fruition, but he was most definitely available on loan. And I know that at some point he was quite happy to come to Cardiff for the season. Whatever happened in between, I couldn't tell you, but I know that those two things were certain, true at one point. So you had an opportunity to sign pace, you didn't take it. We have pace within the squad, and you won't use it. So I haven't got therefore much sympathy when he comes out after a poor performance and says, well, I wanted to sign some players with pace. Because you've just sent Raheem Conte on loan to Woking, when Raheem Conte really should be contesting with Perry NG for the right back spot. Now, I'm sure Errol Bullock would say, well, I want K Pacquiao to compete with NG for that spot. But he won't give K Pacquiao a go.
I think I think NG is an interesting one. And again, early on again, and players have dips and form, of course they do. He hasn't been great so far. I think it was his fault for the goal on Saturday. I think he might have lost his mark. I can't remember if I saw the replay. But
there's been a couple of goals that he's been sort of...
Yeah, and I think the biggest problem is players get into a sense of security, knowing, well, I'm going to play every week here. And I think Romeo's gone, so he knows he's not going to play right back now. He doesn't really trust the young boys, so who's going to play ahead of him? And I think that might be a big part of it, really. NG was excellent last year. He swept the board of the awards, and deservedly so. And he's a very good player. And a lot of clubs will look to sign him, but on his current form, he's been poor. But if you look at the start of the season, if you said to me which players have performed well for Cardiff, I'd struggle. Darlan's played 1.5 games almost, and he's been probably the best player. I'd say. I don't know who O'Dowd has been solid, but there's no one really who's really caught my eye.
But then O'Dowd, I think, has been the goal against Swansea, the rebound. I thought that came from not his fault necessarily, but his lack of defensive instincts, if you like.
He's not a left back, and he's proven that. Even last season, he started left back because it was needs must, wasn't it? Last season again. And was it QPR game? He got caught out. I think it was right early on, really early stage.
You've got to expect it, haven't you? It's like when Ollie Tanner played left back at the end of the season.
Yeah, you get they left wing back. You can get away with it a bit more because you're slight cover behind you. He's not a left back, and he'll know that, and the manager will know that. But it seems crazy. And what's it doing for Bagan's confidence? Thinking, well, am I going to get a game? I'm actually a left back who's played left back all my career. And Bagan has actually been unlucky, I think, because he had a little purple patch when he scored them 3 or 4 goals in a couple of years back. And I thought Bagan's always been okay. And if you've got Collins injured there, you've got position. Get O'Dowd on the wing, get the players in their right position, get Willock in the middle, get Colwell in the middle, not on the wing. It just feels like a little bit. He wants, as you mentioned, he wants to get everybody in that team, but he doesn't know how to fit them all in. His formation, he wants to stick to the 4-2-3-1. I mean, the biggest thing for me on Saturday was the ease, Middlesbrough, and it's not the only team, by the way. Sunderland is exactly the same, I thought. The gaps between the defence and the midfield, they were passing through the lines, not talking long passes here, 20 yards, you saw it. And all of a sudden, they were approaching our defenders. And to be fair to Chambers and Darlan, they did well considering they were always one-on-one a lot of the time. There was no cover. I don't know if that's positional-wise or what. Whether Robertson's not used to playing that position, Siopis has caught out of position a few times. I don't know, but
I think it's
I thought it should be addressed.
I think it's a structural problem because you have Ramsey and Kanga will be the two who kind of do the pressing, but because they don't have the legs to out-and-out press, they tend to mark space and block passing lanes. But what that does is that creates a big, huge gap between them and then Robertson and Siopis. So Siopis, who's a bit of a headless chicken sometimes, will try and fill that space. Then Robertson's left kind of, do I go with him? Do I stay back? And then it's literally 2-3 passes and they're through and they're on the defence. And that's a lack of, I wouldn't say it's a lack of coaching, it's a lack of being aware of the way teams play now. Because most teams play out from the back to beat a press. But also most teams now press in 4s, whereas Cardiff aren't even pressing in a 2. They're kind of holding off, and it's so easy to play against. For me, I've said, I don't want to repeat myself, but like I've said numerous times, I think the way to go is to change the formation and play 3 at the back, especially when Fish is fit. I think it'd be sensible to play Darlan, Fish and Chambers. You could even play Bagan or NG in a 3 as well. I think then you can play O'Dowd on the left as a wing back. Then you can also bring in K Pacquiao without the responsibility of being an out-and-out fullback defensively. and you can let him utilise his pace and the width. But you can also get Colwell in there, Willock in there behind the striker, and maybe Ramsey can drop in. I think I see a lot of people saying, that Siopis should be dropped, and they suggest Ramsey should go in there. My worry is that even with Siopis in there, we often other clubs to have the athleticism, the agility, and the pace and the power to just overthrow our midfield. And part of that is, in my opinion, is because we don't have the legs. Robertson has helped that, but he needs someone in front of him with a bit of physicality and athleticism in a Ruben Colwell. And I worry that if you put Ramsey back there, yes, he can do the kind of quarterback role technically with the ball and things like that. But will he get? We've seen him at Burnley. He got brushed off the ball twice, and they've gone to score. If he's deeper, that's going to expose the defense even more.
Yeah, there's definitely. I agree with that. I mean, it's what I would do. I don't know, but I think it's not working at the moment. It's clearly not working. They don't look a threat going forward. One goal says it all, really. They should have probably lost that Swansea game, and Swansea weren't great, but Cardiff were happy with the point in the end for that. There could have been 4 defeats in a row, but obviously it was a point, which is a good one. But you watch the other games, Sunderland, okay, it was not a lot in the game, but they just got the early goal, and we never looked like threatening, particularly a couple of half chances. But I don't remember Patterson in their goal making many saves. Same, obviously, at Burnley, bad mistake by the goalkeeper, and I think that's also a problem. I mean, we talk about the defence looking at, under pressure, but the goalkeeper has not filled anyone with any confidence, and he's a good shot stopper. I think that's proven. I think he had a great save on Saturday, but the ball.
And then they scored off the corner.
What's that? Sorry.
He made a great save, a really good save off the
corner.
Yeah,
and that's the frustrating thing, because he made a that could have been and should have been maybe a goal. It was a really good save, and then they switched off from the corner, as you said. So.
And it's really frustrating. It gave him a confidence lift because he's been struggling confidence-wise, the keeper, and he made that save. You could see by his reaction, he was really like, "Come on!" And then
you can see, and I feel for him. I feel for him a little bit because he's not naturally strong with the ball at his feet. So they're trying to. I won't compare him to Runnison, but that was a very similar. When Runnison was in goal last season, wasn't it? You could see the defence looked a little bit worried about what's behind them. And I feel the same with Horvath, not with the shots or the crosses so much, but more the balls back to him. And you just wonder, teams are cotton onto it. They're not stupid. They'd see the Burnley mistake. They've seen another team. They'll know that he doesn't want the ball at his feet. And certain goalkeepers, not to press because they'll put the ball and they're 30 yards forward and you're in that position. But with Horvath, he's not going to do that. And I think. The goalkeeper might be another thing to think of. I know Alnwick conceded 5 against Southampton, but I don't know as much he could have done about it. I feel like at the moment, I don't know if that would work or not, but I feel at the moment it's a bad recipe at the moment of conceding goals left, right, and centre and not scoring. And when that happens, it's very easy to get in a bad rut of form. And I know it's 4 games early, and everyone's saying, "Oh, don't panic." But Derby away next. You think that's a good chance to win out. Derby won 8 in a row at home, going for club record 9. They've won 2 at home already this season. Then you've got Leeds, who are going to be up there, possibly win the league. And then I think who else they got? They've got Bristol City. I know they got them away, so that's going to be another hard game. And that might be Millwall. I think they've got 4 at home. So there's not like it's getting much easier. It's not like you've got a Plymouth or a Pompey or someone you think, we're going to win that game. And all of a sudden, 8 or 9 games in with 1 win or no wins, and the panic will set in. Steve Orison lasted, I think it was 10 games, and obviously they won the first 2 out of 3 under him. So, I think something's got to change, and a bit of luck was obviously needed. As I said, Ramsey goal that goes in instead of hits the post, but I think at the moment they go a goal behind. I think the fans thinking, "Oh God, I'm not going to come back here."
And I think that's the problem. It doesn't feel like there's many goals in the team. So when you do go behind, you feel like it's going to be an uphill struggle. But I would say I feel sorry for Kanga because I don't think he's fit. And I think every time he plays an hour and doesn't score, it just kills his confidence a little bit more. And I think he'd be better if he could just come off the bench, 20 minutes, try and, tire defenders. But I also think if you put Ruben Colwell in the 10 and you put Robinson up top and you put someone with pace on the wing like Tanner, I think you see a whole different version of Cardiff. But unfortunately, he keeps going back to the tried and tested, but they've been tested to be quite poor. So
it's shown. And Kanga, what frustrates me about Kanga was, he might not be fit. I get that, and you're not getting the best out of you, but put yourself about. I thought for me, he gave the Middlesbrough defenders such an easy ride. I don't remember him even commit a foul. Let me know you're there. That's really frustrating me. I felt like he was a bit of a soft touch. And as a supporter watching that, when you watch the young boy Rindolph, who's he's come on, albeit a League Cup game, but he's come on and he's given himself a good account. He's got stuck in, and I think that's what fans appreciate. And if Kanga showed a bit of that, the fans can,
get behind him.
Sorry?
If he was running around and pressing and putting himself
exactly, it feels like he's half-hearted. Even a couple of passes he done, it wasn't coming off. He looks like he needs a goal, but he really looks like the pace of the game maybe is too much for him. I don't know, but I think the Derby game is going to be really, really important because you've got 2 weeks now where obviously some players are away, but most are here. And I think you've got to look at that and think, right, how are we going to change this now? How are we going to start scoring goals? Because last season, they were solid at the back, I'd say, majority, and then won a lot of games 1-0 from a corner or a free kick. Bristol City, Sunderland, you can name them. And they're fine when they go in the heads, but obviously when you go behind, it's a lot harder. And I think this has been the problem so far. I mean, I hate the word XG, but people talk about that, but the Cardiff must be so low at the moment because they're not creating any chances, not clear-cut chances.
But it also comes to being a bit proactive, right? Because Cardiff have got several players who they signed who everyone's excited to see, but they're not fit for a variety of reasons, which is out of the club's hands. It's not their fault they're not fit. They've taken the opportunity to sign them. But to me, you've got a 2-week international break, right? El Ghazi is not on international duty. I don't believe Kanga is. Why are we not arranging behind closed doors games for these players to get fit?
I agree. I was amazed El Ghazi wasn't involved against Southampton at all. Unless he had a knock we didn't know about. I was really surprised because that's a perfect opportunity to get you an hour, even half an hour under your belt. He's coming on. He hasn't played football for months and months.
I'd imagine he'd appreciated Darren as well. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'd imagine he'd have appreciated playing with all those youngsters who were playing at pace and playing exciting football. I'm sure that would have been right up his alley because that's the type of footballer he is.
People are more frustrated so far. People have been happiest. Probably the happiest fans have come away from the Cardiff watching a game so far this season. It's been the Southampton game. Yes, they lost the game. Yes, they conceded 5, but I think people want to be entertained. That sounds ridiculous. Yes, it's about winning, but people don't. It was boring. It was very boring Saturday. It was boring. It's been boring for a while, and people want to be entertained. And I said to you, want to win games, right? Repeating myself, but there's a way of style of playing, and no one expects Cardiff to be Manchester City or Arsenal overnight, but there needs to be some injection of pace into that team, just the way they pass the ball and play. Because at the moment it looks like they're in second gear, and it is worrying. And I am a bit of a pessimistic supporter, I have to say, which is not just I'm used to it over the years supporting Cardiff, but it's not like you can't see shoots of green thinking, oh, this is going to be in a few weeks' time. At the moment, it's worrying.
So I'm the same. I'm so pessimistic as a football fan, particularly as a Cardiff fan. So pessimistic, so negative. But I was so excited going into the season. I still think we've had a good window. I think the one problem that we should have got another striker. So this is what I wanted to mention to you actually. So it's my understanding, and obviously you can correct me if you understand or know anything different. The reason we signed Simic, £2 million, who's been playing in the Champions League for Salzburg, and scored a few goals. We then sent him straight back out on loan to Belgium, to Corvik. It's my understanding that the main reason he's gone out on loan is because we have, I believe, 28, or at the time we had 28 players, and you could only have 25. Obviously, a couple have gone out on loan and stuff like that. So, to me, I think part of the problem is we haven't been able to get rid of all the players we would like to have got rid of. But to me, like, you've got the manager saying he needs pace and he needs attacking options. But you've just signed a striker who plays Champions League football and then sent him on loan to Belgium. Like, it makes no sense. Even if he's not ready, like Reindorf. So he's going to be an option off the bench. Like, for me, I can't believe Reindorf's not on the bench, to be quite honest with you.
Well, what you've seen, I think what you've seen so far, I mean, Robinson has looked sharp in pre-season, scored a few goals. I know he has had a knock, so it does. He would have probably started. You'd like to think on Saturday, but I look at the team. I mean, they had Dehu last year, the striker, obviously played, and he didn't impress anyone particularly, did he? I don't know what you thought of him, but
to be honest,
no, he didn't. But compared to Kanga so far, at least he gets himself in the box and looks to put, scored a couple of goals. I mean, Kanga, I'm hoping, I'm not speaking too early, and I'll give him a bit of time because he has scored goals before. And I know you're feeding off scraps, but I just don't feel that you watch some players, and again, I don't like to criticise, you watch some players and you think, he's going to be a good player or he's got something about him. At the moment, I feel like the ball's bouncing off him. We can't hold it up. He's not flicking it on. He's not running. There's no one running in behind. So, this passing the ball, there was a few times on Saturday, and it was so frustrating. It must be more for the fans of the ground. Chambers had the ball, and we're walking. He's just standing on the ball. And I don't know if that's no options or nothing, but the fans won't care if you turn a defence, play it long, turn a defence, play it out for a throw-in, play it for a corner, because at the moment it's so in front of defence. It's so easy for teams. They're playing all in front of them, sideways, backwards, sideways. And it's no coincidence. The only goal we've actually scored this season is the goal where they actually put a few passes together, got to the byline and cut the ball back. Because showed a little bit of pace to get down.
You look how that came about, mate. I think it came from Chambers in defence, passes to Ramsey, I believe. Ramsey, who's deeper, plays it to Colwell. Colwell plays a beautiful ball up the wing to Tanner, who's running in behind, isolated fullback, and then lays it off to Robinson, who finishes, who's moving in the box and finishes it well. Now, you can't tell me that's a coincidence that the only goal we scored in the league, and also the most dangerous we've looked in the league, was the second half against Swansea and the first half against Burnley. We were very good again the first half against Burnley. We didn't deserve to go in, 2-0 down in that game, but we did. But at 1-0, after that, so the keeper makes a mistake. After that, Mate has a one-on-one with the keeper and hits the post.
Yes, to score. Yeah, he has to score.
Done that numerous times last year. So if we score that, because it's a mistake, the Burnley goal, you can kind of write that off as players and as a team, and you go, look, it was a mistake, it happens, but we're back in this now. Let's just keep doing what we're doing, and that's a whole different game. But then we make more mistakes, and we got punished, because that's what happens when you play teams who are full of multi-million-pound footballers. They punish you for mistakes. But for me, Darren, I think it's absolutely vital. After the game yesterday, Saturday, Errol Bullitt said, changes are coming. If he doesn't stick to that, and when this game comes around, make changes, then I think he's going to have a real problem, because the fans are frustrated because they can see solutions to the problems that he's saying that he's got. So it's all very well, if you've got 18 injuries and you don't know who to play, and you're playing your bloody, you're centre forward at right back, and people are just doing whatever they need to do. But that's not the case. We have a crop of youngsters who are itching to play championship football and are probably good enough in most cases. Other clubs, Sunderland playing a 17-year-old, Burnley played a 19-year-old.
Sunderland's obviously have got the youngest scored in the league. Their goal they scored the weekend, their third goal, 17-year-old to a 19-year-old to a 21-year-old. If you're old enough, you're good enough. Unfortunately, the manager just seems to go back to default, doesn't seem to trust them. For me, I don't think it's a great look. He seems to, with the younger players, and maybe it's the style he has, or maybe he thinks the best way is, or he always looks for faults in players and the younger players. I feel a little bit his comments in the media, from what I've picked up. Colwell always saying, yeah, but he needs to do this. We're off the ball a bit more. The comment about Tanner being overweight was a silly comment to make, really.
But then you never hear him criticise Gutas for the horror show that he put on, or Halvard.
No, you don't, and it's not. I'm not trying to pinpoint, but yeah, and he seems to think like the younger players. It's a trust thing, and I think the fans would always give young players a bit more leeway, 100%, and they'll make mistakes, but I think they won't tolerate much more of what's going on at the moment. I think because, as you said, it's like Groundhog Day at the moment. The same, we're watching a game, you think, where's the goal come from? Where are they going to get a goal? And I watched that game, and apart from that 5-minute spell at the start of the second half, I don't remember us threatening at all. In the first half, I don't think the goalkeeper I don't think he touched the ball with his hands, I can remember, unless I'm mistaken. Really frustrating. Being the home team, my home form's been a problem for a while. Cardiff are definitely better suited being the away side and have been under Bullet, I think, the whole time, when they can hit a bit on the break. Soak a pressure up, but obviously last season it worked because they had quite a strong defence and were nicking 1-0s, or somebody was getting a wonder goal, like Boulder was scoring a goal at Watford like that, and we would nick 1-0.
Scored that goal against Bristol, didn't he, to make it
exactly? But it just feels, and obviously a lot of corners were scored, so 1-0s, and that was fine. But there's more onus this year. Obviously, it's supposed to be a stronger squad. And a weaker division, I think, is a weaker division this year, 100%, if you look at it.
Yeah, I do too. But also, all the teams that are going to be successful this year, they rely on athleticism, technical ability, and energy. If you look at them, they've all played with those sort of traits. But they've all got an experienced centre-back, an experienced keeper, an experienced central midfielder. And then around that experienced central midfielder, they have a lot of legs. And I think Ramsey or Rawls, they have a lot to offer, but not if you're going to put them together with Cyprus, because you've got nothing around them to really implement a style on the game.
Yeah, I agree. He wants to play all the players he wants in the team, but you can't. You've got to chop and change and play to your strengths. And I've been disappointed with Sopis for a while, actually. I don't know about you. He came in, really impressed me. I remember it's one of the early games against Swansea. He was everywhere. He was buzzing around the pitch. He was making interceptions, and he still does that from time to time. But I feel like he seems to have gone away from that a little bit. I don't know if it's the players that are around him. He hasn't got the support, but he was everywhere. He was really sort of picking up the pieces and just being that stopper, which is a really important position and part of the team. And he's gone away from that, and he's never been a great passer of the ball. But I lost count on Saturday, and I go back to Saturday. It's one-off game, but I've seen it a few times. How many times he tries to play a 30, 40-yard ball? He's just not a good passer of the ball, particularly. That's fine. It's not his strength, but he's not. That's not his game.
And need to do that, do we? That's not what we want.
They need someone like he was doing, going back to that Swansea game and other games where he was buzzing around, breaking up play, giving the ball to somebody else, then to do the damage. And I feel like, it's easy to point the finger at him. It's not the only thing, but I find it strange how his game is sort of, his form has dipped, not just this season, even last season towards the end. So it seems like it's all negative. It does feel like it's negative at the moment, and I hate to be negative about it because it's early on, but you just see things, and if you see things, as I said to you there, you think, oh, it's promising, this can work, and give it a few weeks. At the moment, we're seeing the same every game. You see the team, it's the same team, it's the same way they pattern of play. And how are they going to break teams down? They're not. And, so something's got to change. And you said whether it's the formation or the personnel or both. I think the next 4 or 5 games is massive for the manager.
Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, like, even if I don't anticipate him changing the formation at the moment, if you look at it from what he said and you take him on face value, he said we lack pace, and defensively we're making mistakes. I accept the mistakes have been made. I don't accept the mistakes, but there's been mistakes. And I actually think as the season goes on, I think defensively we will get better because we've made some good signings in defence. that is just been a bit of a slow start on that side of things. But I think if he wants pace, even if he doesn't want to change the system and use wing backs like I suggested, he's got Keaton Ashford there, he's got Ollie Tanner there. These are players who played last year and did all right, so they can play. Ruben Colwell, he's got players who he can use, and I think whilst fans can see solutions, you aren't going to get much sympathy if you stick with the same 11 who keep making the same mistakes. And I think, for instance, I think with Cyprus, I think he's become almost like a bit of a go-to scapegoat sort of thing, because people have seen it, so they're almost looking out for those passes. But I agree, at the start of when he came, what he did was the simple things, and he did play the occasional diagonal ball because he's got that in his locker. But what we had was he had time and space to do it, and he didn't try and do it every time. But I think the pressure's on all of the players now to try and create, because we're so devoid of creativity and attacking options, that I think there's almost a pressure to try and create something out of nothing. Whereas
I agree, and I think the biggest thing I've seen in the game so far, so the Sunderland game was a little bit similar to Saturday in one way, probably played slightly better against Sunderland, actually a lot better than they did against Middlesbrough, but they got the ball down the wing, whether it's Willock, whoever it is, and we seem to go back sideways, slow, and this is the problem. Teams get back in defence, and you're not going to break teams down if teams are organised. And again, there's got to be, I can't remember last time we saw an overlapping down the wing. I can't remember. I saw that. I think this is just, there's so much that needs to change. And it's very easy to go on one game. But the frustrating thing about Middlesbrough was they had a terrible build-up, but their best striker, best player, didn't start the game. And that was a bit of a boost because of what got on the transfer situation. I think they had 6 injuries altogether, including 4 centre-halves. So you think, okay, we've not done well so far, but it's the chance to get that win. Make it ugly, 1-0, whatever we need to do. Get off that dreaded winless streak, and I think that's frustrating because they never ever really took the game to them. And as the home side, it's just so frustrating. And it's another game gone, and it's been a hard start, no doubt about it, the games. But you've got to start picking points up. Derby beat Middlesbrough. Derby won 2 games. Paul Warner's under big pressure at Derby. I know that for certain, and the fans are not happy with him at all. He's one way from a defeat. They've won 2 games so far, and they've come up. He took a club up. I think Cardiff. I think in the next batch, to repeat myself again, the next batch. And I'm not saying if they still win this again, he'll be getting the sack, but the pressure will really be on, because these next 4 or 5 games. You hit mid-October and you're still at the bottom. It's easy to get in a bad trot and be at the bottom. So let's hope we get 2 or 3 wins the next 4 or 5 games. Leeds will be hard.
It's very momentum orientated, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And they showed last year when they got in a bit of a trot. Actually, won 3 or 4 in a row. So it can easily be done. It just feels like at the moment there's so much needs to be done, I think, of which it's not working, as you said. It's just clearly not working.
But then I agree. I just saw a comment from someone, and I can't find it now because there's a few comments there. But I don't think you need to tear everything up and start again, if you like. I think it's a few tweaks to get the best out of certain players and just to improve the balance and the kind of the side. Possession football can work if you do it with a purpose and you do it quickly and you have players in the right positions. Now, just for instance, put a right-footed winger on the right-hand side and a left-footed winger on the left-hand side, and I guarantee you that if we did that for one 90-minute game, we would create more chances than we've created all season, just by putting crosses in the box. Because our wingers constantly cut inside, they close the space that Ramsey or Colwell wants, so they end up going into deeper positions where they can't do any damage anyway. And then on one side, you've got Perry NG, who doesn't overlap. So on the right, you've got no width at all straight away. That's done. You've got no width to put some crosses in. And then on the left, you've got O'Dowda, who will go up and get there, but he's coming from so far back, and we give the ball away cheaply. So for me, I don't think it's like you need to like drop everyone and big thing. Like I do think Bullet can still make this work, and I see comments and people think that he is beyond and he's going to end up going, so they may as well do it now, sort of thing. But I actually believe that if Errol Bullet ends up getting the sack, which of course is possible, it'll be on him for being stubborn and not adjusting things that he could have adjusted. Like, it's in his control to make us better without having to be like this tactical genius. Like, it's just a few little tweaks.
I think you're right. I think it is on him. He's been here a season now, so he knows a lot of the squads. And I think it's just frustrating because you clearly can see it's not working at the moment. It's 4 games. It hasn't worked for a while. You can see that this team is not going to break down a team. Maybe they will, but then they don't like creating many chances. Whether they win a 1-0 or nick a 1-0, I don't know. But so you've got to look at changing it. And he said he'll change it, but what will he do? I think he's got to start taking some of these players out the firing line and letting them know, Ramsey, sorry, you're not playing this week. I mean, he can't play. He can play 90 minutes every game as well, which I find incredible, really, because he's his body really can't.
And then we'll wonder why he's injured.
Yeah, it's crazy. You need to manage him. You need to manage him, his workload. And he's a good player, Ramsey. He's a great player. Of course he is. He's past his best. Everybody knows that. But he's still a good player. But where Ramsey is his best is obviously he scored a few goals from last year from a shot, but it's running through from midfield. But there's just static, and that's why it's frustrating. There's no one bursting through from midfield. But that's again, it's straight in front of defence. Everyone just sits there, 4 banks or 3 or whatever it is, as they break us down. And I still think we play now, Cardiff, we still won't be scoring a goal 3 days on because it's just looks so predictable, and that's the frustrating thing. Just they've got to change it up. Whatever they do, they've got to change it up. It's a hard watch at the moment, and that's why I think I'm frustrated because all we want is success. No one's expecting as a fan, to be top of the league or win 4 games in a row, what have you. But just a little bit of entertainment, but also it's frustrating, as you say, because you can see the things there. And there's some good players in that squad. There's not a bad team. It's just there's things have got to change, and I think the manager's got to really do it now because I feel, this continues. I think he'll be under real pressure.
I feel for Aaron Ramsey, mate, because his contract's up at the end of the year, and I don't think we're helping him by helping him just playing 90 minutes every week. I don't think that helps him, but also I don't think we're helping him by the way we're playing with him. We're not getting the best out of him.
He needs legs around him, doesn't he? 100% he needs legs around him. And also, you get the best out of Ramsey, you'll get the best out of Cardiff, and then obviously both are not working. How many times Ramsey's got the ball on Saturday? He was isolated. He was on the wing. He was somewhere. He was 20 yards away from the nearest striker. If it went up to Kangan, the ball was lost, and they just had the ball back, and we were back to square one. Something wasn't right on Saturday. It hasn't been right all season. I've seen, apart from the Burnley game, I've seen every game, and it's been a really hard watch at the start. So I'm hoping, I really am, like everyone, that they can turn it around and we can get that first win, because the first win will take the pressure off everyone, and obviously that does mean a lot of confidence. So, but there's good players there. Willock has proven he's a good player at this level. He's scored goals, keep him fit. O'Dowda, keep him fit, good player. Same with Ramsey, more than a good player. Robinson's proven goal scorer. There's some really good players. It's not a bad team or bad individuals, but at the moment it's just not working. So,
it's a fascinating one. It'll be really interesting to see what happens, because at the start of last year, I'll just finish on this. At the start of last year, one of the things that impressed me about Errol Bullet in that initial run that Cardiff had was we had a really sticky start, and then we started to get some form, and we won a few games, and we looked good. And for me, one of the things that really impressed me in that initial period was that tactically he was quite flexible. He played the same system, but he would move different players for different teams. He would clearly be looking at the opposition where they might trouble us and things like that. And that, as soon as Ramsey got injured, that seemed to go out the window, which made no sense to me, because actually last year we played our best football on the whole when Ruben Colwell was on the pitch. We've only scored a goal this year when Ruben Colwell's been on the pitch. So that to me seems right. If you want Ramsey on the side, great, that's fine. But you've got to adjust it to make sure that you've got Ruben Colwell in there as well. And also, like, taking Robertson off on Saturday was ludicrous. The one midfielder who's actually can break lines with his passing and was doing it, and also everywhere. You know, he's got the legs, the athleticism. He's 21, and we take him off whilst you've got other players maybe not performing. And yeah, it's an issue, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a preconceived idea, thinking Rob Robertson's not going to be fit, let's give him an hour. I don't know, but Meite played 45 minutes. He might as well not bother playing 45 minutes, in all honesty. What he offered, you know, he's not a winger. I've seen it a lot of times. His goal scoring record, as every striker at Cardiff, will score goals against Cardiff as soon as he signs for Cardiff. He can't hit a barn door. Very frustrating with him. Again, that Burnley miss. He's got to score that. And that's been his Cardiff career so far, isn't it, really? Because there's a player there. He's big, he's strong, he's got a bit of pace in him, but just something's not right. And he's hit the post, he's hit wide. He scored one goal, I think, isn't he? One goal, I believe it is, in last season at Huddersfield, early on. That's it. You know, that's not a player who's going to give you confidence in front of goal, scoring goals. So, yeah, I don't know what they're going to do. I think he's got to, as I said, start really making some hard decisions, and, you know, for the best of the team, not the individuals. So let's move Willock from the wing. Let's get Colwell in that team. Let's get O'Dowda further forwards, and let's get back to a little bit of entertainment football, but winning games as well, because it's you know, he's going to be under pressure.
He's going to lose his job.
He will.
100%. Like we are, you may as well go down with a fight. And
that's why it's frustrating, isn't it? Because they're not really. You know, I said the Southampton game, they went down with a fight, they gave it their all, and they lost the game. Okay, completely different set of players, both teams. Of course it was, but I think fans were encouraged by that. They saw a bit of pace, a bit of entertainment, and I think they've been bereft for so long of that. I think fans will take that, you know, but they won't take Saturday for me. They won't take the Sunderland game. And the Swansea game, obviously, they got a point in, which everybody's happy about. But, you know, the first half, they could have been out of sight, really. A better side would have scored 2 or 3, no doubt about that. So, yeah, let's hope for better things after the international break.
Indeed, mate. Indeed. So we got a range of content coming up this week. We got Pans does a little preview of the Wales games tomorrow night. Video. Then we got the Flower Hour on Wednesday with a special guest, former Cardiff City player. We've got some other content throughout the week, and then, of course, we'll be back live on Sunday evening, among other things. But Darren, thank you very much for joining me, mate. I really appreciate it. It's been
no, thanks for having us on. As I said, it's like I said, at the moment it feels very frustrating, and we're hoping next time we're speaking, we're won a few games and things are looking more rosy. Because that's all we want, really. No one enjoys moaning about their team. I know everyone has their own team, but yeah, we just want success, really. That's all we want.
Yeah, indeed, mate. Fingers crossed. I'm jumping over. If you're a Patreon member, I'm jumping over now for a members only show. If you want to join, patreon.com/ACEpodcastnation. But more importantly, please check out the GoFundMe link. I posted it in the chat right at the start. I will post it again now just before I end the show. But please do share it. If you can donate, great, for the tribute to Sol Bamba. But in the meantime, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Cheers.